Hi girls, welcome back to your first slide in part B. Okay, so in your previous video we discussed what is the introduction, we discussed what is external audit engagement, we discussed the objectives, definition of assurance engagement, types of assurance engagement and the structure of assurance engagement or the structure of engagement, right? So now let's move on to your next topic, that is elements of an assurance engagement. Now what is elements? Elements is nothing but components, okay? It is the you can term it as something which is very important, something which is important in carrying out an assurance engagement, something which plays an important role, right? Elements is also components. Okay, now there are basically 5 elements of an assurance engagement. So let's look into what are the 5 elements of an assurance engagement. We know what an assurance engagement is, right? We discussed in the previous video. So first to know that there are 3 parties involved. Okay, so 3 parties, that is firstly the practitioner. Now who is the practitioner? The one who reviews the information. Second, intended users. Users is basically someone who is using the information. Third is the responsible party, that is who is preparing the information. Firstly, the person who is reviewing information, next is the person who is using the information, and thirdly is the person who is preparing the information. Practitioner, as I told you, is the auditor. Please write it down in your notes. Practitioner is the auditor. Intended users. Intended users is basically those people to whom the audit report is submitted. Okay, basically someone who is using the report. It could be, for example, your shareholders, your creditors, the general public, or those people who are involved with the company. Okay, now the responsible party. Who is the responsible party? It is basically your HR department, your finance department, your marketing department, your production department, right? Basically all of these departments on an entire yearly basis, on monthly basis, they will prepare what is the sales information, how much profits they are getting. They will prepare the profit and loss for each and every department. So they are preparing the information. Are you getting me all? They are preparing the information. So they are the responsible party. They will prepare an entire information of an entire year. Only on based of whatever information they are preparing, auditing will be done. Okay, so these are the 3 parties. Next, the subject matter under scrutiny. Okay, scrutiny, the subject matter. Now basically next one is, what is the subject matter? What do you want to get out of the audit? What is the subject matter on which you want to do the auditing? Okay, next, suitable criteria against which to judge the reliability and accuracy of the subject matter. For example, international financial reporting system. Okay, there will be necessary standards. Okay, that is basically, now see, you have chartered accountants, you have various things, right? So according to everything, according to IFRS also, there are various standards to see that if the information you are collecting for auditing is reliable, or if the subject matter is reliable, or you got enough information to carry out auditing, etc. You need to see the reliability of whatever subject matter is given. Next, sufficient appropriate evidence to substantiate an opinion. Okay, now only if you get the right information, you will be able to come up with an opinion. You will be able to carry out auditing well, and you will be able to substantiate opinion. Now what is substantiate opinion? Create an opinion. Only then you will be able to tell, okay, yes, whether the auditing is effective, or whether the auditing, even whether you had to provide more information or anything as such. So only then you will have only if appropriate information or sufficient information is given, you will be able to come up with an opinion. Next, a written report in an appropriate form. Everything has to be written, everything has to be documented. Okay, so whatever assurance engagement report the auditor is preparing, he has to prepare a written report. He needs to document each and everything to submit it to the concerned party as well as the top management. So I hope this particular topic is very clear to you all. Okay, now moving on to the next slide, you have 3 parties relationship. Now let's look into what is this 3 parties relationship. Now normally in the engagement, there are 3 parties involved. Firstly is the intended user, the person who is using the audit report. Second, Now, who are involved in this intended parties? Basically, these are people who are from the management. That is, as I told you all in the previous slide, it is the management of the entity, shareholders, board of directors, and the government body, or the general public. These are the parties who are who come under intended users. Next, the three parties typically involved in assurance engagement are the responsible party, the party who is responsible to prepare the subject matter, users, practitioner. Now let's look into what is it about the responsible party. Now, responsible party is basically those who perform the operations and provide information for the benefit of the relevant users. I told you all these people basically belong to different departments and they are responsible for various things. Okay, and they have to prepare, and they are the people who provide for information, right? So basically, they are the people who have who are responsible for the subject matter also. So users are typically the Okay, now you got to know who the responsible party is. They are the people who are responsible for providing information and also the people who are responsible to give a subject matter on which the assurance is sought or prepared or done. Okay, now next is the users. Now users are basically typically the recipients of services, assets or information of responsible party. Although in some cases the relationship between users and a responsible party may not be merely be one way. Okay, now users could be anyone of that. No, basically users is basically, the relationship could be different. It could be basically it depends on the company as to whom they want the users to be as. Okay, it could be one party, it could be two party, or it could be one way communication or anything as such. Now users are basically those people who will be using the information. Okay, whatever information is given, as I told you all, it could be the shareholders or anyone, or to prepare anything. Now next you have the practitioner. Who is practitioner? Practitioner is the auditor, right? Now practitioner may be engaged to perform an assurance engagement in relation to the subject matter or the subject matter information that the responsible party is responsible for. Okay, he will either be given a necessary subject matter on which he needs to perform the audit on which he has to prepare an audit report, or he will be engaged in performing assurance engagement on basis of whatever subject matter is given to him. Okay, now next, either the responsible party or users, or in some circumstances both, may engage the practitioner. In all cases, practitioner independence needs to be assessed and demonstrated. To make it very simple to you all, basically you have these parties who are involved. Okay, three parties: responsible party, users and practitioner. Keep in mind who is the responsible party. Responsible party is someone who is responsible to give the information. User, who is using the information. Okay, practitioner, someone who is taking the information and preparing the audit report. As simple as that. You do not have to break your head to understand this particular topic. Just understand it in your simple terms and you will be able to do well. Okay, next let's move on to the next slide. Now again, we have information regarding your users, who the users are, who the responsible party is, and who the users are. You can read it for yourself for once, just for your thorough knowledge about the same. Now, next is your assurance report. We conducted an assurance engagement program. We saw what is the structure. We saw who are the parties involved. Now we have to finally prepare a report. What is a report? Assurance means guarantee, right? What is report? Report is something that you are preparing. It is a document. Okay, it is something that is giving you a guarantee, like whatever I've done, it is right. It is basically an output. A report is an output of whatever information you have taken. So an assurance report is a tangible output. What is tangible? Something you can touch and feel, something which is in a hard copy, something which is presented to you, something which you can open and flip and see, right? Flip the pages and see. So assurance report is tangible output of assurance engagement. Whatever assurance engagement we carried out, it is the output of that. So this report may be for internal use or external use. It could be for the internal use, for the company use, or for the external use, that is shareholders or the general public or the government. But it will also always be shared with the person using the information, who needs to be confident, that is credible. Now company information needs to be very confident. It cannot be leaked, right? You all know this company, there is certain secrecy which is maintained. So it will be given, apart from giving it to the internal and external users, it will be very secretive and confident with the person who is responsible to be withholding that particular information. So assurance report is the output of assurance engagement. Okay, I hope this is clear to you all. Then the practitioner provides a written report containing a conclusion. Okay, now how is he submitting this report? He is preparing a written report. Now what is this written report containing? Written report is containing conclusion, which is conveying basically means communicating the assurance, whatever assurance is obtained about the subject matter information, whatever result they are obtaining out of whatever information or subject matter they gave. Based on that, he is preparing a written report and deriving a conclusion. Okay, now ISA, ISREs, ISAS establish basic elements for assurance report. Now according to these particular standards, you need to have certain things in your assurance report. Now in addition, the practitioner considers the other reporting responsibilities. Okay, apart from these responsibilities, there are other responsibilities also that the practitioner has to give. That is communicating with those charged with governance when it is appropriate to do so. He needs to communicate the report also to the government official whenever he thinks it is right to share the information or right to do so. Okay, I hope the assurance report is clear. Now, what is the importance of assurance engagement? Why is assurance engagement so important? Firstly, because it is potential bias in providing information, because it is the most appropriate way of providing information. Then remoteness between user and organization. It is basically acting as a medium between the user and the organization, and it is trying to break down whatever barriers are there in between the user and the organization. Next, complexity of transaction information of processing system. Okay, basically it is trying to break down the complexity of whatever transaction is there, information is there, and processing system, and it is trying to ease out everything and tell whether whether the company is performing well or not. Then investors need to manage their risky and thereby minimize financial surprises as consequences to investors and others. Okay, basically it also enables them to know how they need to manage their risk, how they need to minimize their financial surprises, and also how they need to balance their funds in order to go about investing, expanding their business, and introducing new projects, etc. So this is why assurance engagement is very important. Then you have limitations of assurance engagement. What is the limitations? Limitations means disadvantages as well as drawbacks. Okay, so first one is you are using selective testing. You are just sticking on to one particular kind of test depending on how the company is and what the company wants the test to be like. Okay, you are using a selective testing. Then use of judgment. Okay, you are being very judgmental. Okay, based on why is judgment? Because you, based on whatever information is given, you will derive a subject matter and you will conduct auditing, right? So use of judgment is very appropriate, and that is why it is a limitation. Then inherent limitations of internal control. There is a lot of limitation of internal control because of which you will not be able to carry out auditing very well. Okay, because it is as we read in the previous slides, that limited assurance engagement, right? So it is very specific and it is very limited. Then persuasive evidence rather than conclusive evidence. Okay, it is very persuasive, it is not conclusive. You're not concluding everything on a general basis or a general term. Now whatever information you're getting, only on basis of that you are concluding. Then characteristics of subject matters. Characteristics of subject matter is basically you are taking into consideration the characteristics of subject matter also, and thereby it tends to complicate everything. So that is why all of these are limitations. It could act like a drawback to the assurance engagement. So these were the importance as well as the limitations of assurance engagement. So thank you for watching. We will be coming back with your next part 2, that is part 2A and B, in your next video. So I hope this video is very clear to you all. If you have any doubts, please do get back after watching this particular video. Thank you so much.